So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the New York Historical Society. I'm Louise Mirrer, New York Historical's very proud president and CEO. Our Strawberry Festival, thank you. Our New York Historical Strawberry Festival is a tradition that began back in 1856 when guests enjoyed a stimulating lecture and a strawberry feast. Today, our luncheon provides a wonderful platform for showcasing the work of our Center for Women's History and our Joyce B. Cowan Women's History Gallery. On behalf of, we're going to applaud you again, Joyce, in a moment. On behalf of my great colleague, Valerie Paley, who heads our Center for Women's History, as well as my colleagues Jennifer Shantz, our museum director Margie Hofer, our library director Michael Ryan, Ines Aslan, Dale Gregory, and Matt Bregman, who have also joined us this afternoon, I would like to thank and recognize Joyce again for her inspired leadership. You want to stand for a moment, Joyce? Thank you. This luncheon also raises important funds for our education programs, which serve 200,000 New York City public school students and 7,000 teachers each year. New York Historical's strongest partner in these endeavors is District 8 in the South Bronx. District 8 has one of the highest numbers and percentages in the entire city of students in homeless shelters. Over 30% of the district's students were homeless just this past school year. How extraordinary it is for me to be able to look around this room and to thank each and every one of you for your support, which will make it possible for us to deliver direct student services to 21 of the district's 38 schools, and to provide professional development for virtually every one of the district's teachers. With help from generous donors like you, we'll hope to be able to raise sufficient funds to include all of the district's schools in our programs, and also to guarantee the continuation of our District 8 work, as the district has asked us to do over the next 4 years. Students in our education programs avail themselves of all of our New York historical resources, including our Patricia D. Klingenstein Library. I would like to recognize and thank Pat Klingenstein, who has provided this institution with advice, ideas, and generous support for more than 2 decades. Thank you so much, Pat. I would like to thank and recognize as well our beloved Sue Ann Weinberg, a past Strawberry Festival honoree and a great supporter of this institution. Thank you so much, Sue Ann. Now I'm going to add one person to my remarks. I always say when people say nice things about the New York Historical Society to me, that I wouldn't have been able to do my work together with my colleagues and all of you had it not been for the amazing work of Betsy Gottbaum, who is with us today. Betsy really saved this institution, and she made it possible for us to take this great New York Historical Society to the heights we've taken it. Without her, we would be nothing more than the speculation and dust that our founders worried about in 1804. So thank you, Betsy. Our honoree this afternoon, American fashion icon Stuart Weitzman, will be presented with our Distinguished Service Award by the chair of our Board of Trustees, Pam Schafler, in just a moment. You'll hear more about Stuart then, and also about New York Times fashion critic Vanessa Friedman, with whom Stuart will be in conversation. But before I yield the floor to Pam, I want to say just a few words about a part of the project that Stuart proposed to us and to which he was instrumental, a shoe design competition for high school students. Two of the contest's winners, Olivia Matthews and Danielle Flegel, were able to briefly sneak out of school this afternoon, and I am thrilled to recognize and congratulate both of them. These young women's fabulously beautiful and very thoughtful designs, inspired by the collections of New York Historical and by the kinds of innovative materials used in Stuart Weitzman shoes, can be seen in the final display of the exhibition upstairs and on the screens around the room. It was Stuart's idea as well to inspire our winners to the kinds of philanthropic endeavors with which he has been associated over many years by providing each winner with the opportunity to donate $2,500 to the charity of their choice. I know that Olivia and Danielle stood when I recognized them before, but why don't you stand again so we can all recognize you and applaud these outstanding young women. And now, distinguished guests, it is my great honor to invite our outstanding leader, our board chair, Pam Schafler, to the podium.
Thank you, Louise. Louise forgot to say one thing when she got up, and that is, please eat, okay? It's really important that you go ahead. We don't mind the banging. It can continue until our speakers get up, and I'm sure they won't even mind if you eat quietly, but I really want you to go at it. So, good afternoon, distinguished guests and New York Historical supporters. Today, I have the great honor of bestowing our Distinguished Service Medal on iconic American designer, Stuart Weitzman, and also of introducing America's greatest fashion critic, Vanessa Friedman, who will be in conversation with Stuart this afternoon. Just before those introductions, and I'm going to give them a chance to eat as well, I'd like to share a brief story about a conversation I had with an acquaintance a few weeks ago. My acquaintance was delighted to hear that Stuart Weitzman's historic footwear collection would be on view to the public, and for the very first time. But she expressed surprise that the exhibition would be here in our Joyce B. Cowan Women's History Gallery. Shoes, she said, are not exactly New York Historical's usual thing, and while I can see the connection between women and shoes, what could shoes possibly tell us about women's history? That was my opening. In fact, there is quite a lot you can learn about women's history from shoes. But at the time, my answer was purely theoretical because our exhibition, Walk This Way, had not yet opened. And today, as many of you saw when you first arrived in the Joyce B. Cowan Gallery, I am sure you will agree with the perspective of one of our show's curators, Jeannie. All right, Louise, help me here. Gutierrez. Okay. She wrote of the shoes on view, rather poetically, I think. Preserved from the wear and tear of daily life, they are elevated from mundane objects to historic witnesses. I love the concept of shoes being historic witnesses. As you walk through the exhibition, either again or for the first time, just take a look at the high-button boots in the American suffrage movement, which they wore as they marched through city streets, if that sounds familiar. Or the quote-unquote sexy heels that reflect the changing norms of female aesthetics. Or the professional shoes from the mid-19th century, which thanks to mechanization and mass production, shod the feet of increasing numbers of women in the workplace. You might also keep in mind the point of view of Vanessa Friedman, who stated that, and this is a quote, clothes, and I assume you include shoes here, Vanessa, clothes are entirely communication devices. So we might ask more about that during Q&A. But it is all thanks to Stuart Weitzman, who collected and preserved these historic witnesses that we are able to share the above-mentioned stories and so much more. In awarding Stuart our Distinguished Service Medal today, we honor his great dedication to designing for women and his extraordinary philanthropy, which has focused so much, as this institution does, on leveling the playing field by supporting young people's, including young women's education. Stuart Weitzman's passion for design has been a lifelong pursuit. He began working at his father's Massachusetts shoe factory while still in college. After graduating from the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, he dedicated himself to the industry, eventually building the globally renowned company that bears his name. Today, his shoes dominate red carpet events and are worn by loyal celebrity fans like Angelina Jolie, Taylor Swift, Beyoncé, and Gigi Hadid, and by millions of women from more than 75 countries around the world. And I would venture to say, by quite a few women in the room today, including me. I'm wearing mine. It is now my honor to invite Stuart Weitzman to the podium to receive New York Historical's Distinguished Service Award. Really good. How's that?
Okay.
Well done.
It's like my gold medal. When shoes for me are my gold medals. And I never could have imagined that 200 women would be here, maybe a big part of you supporters of the product as well. So you've put together a great luncheon, make me feel very good about it. I've fallen in love with your museum, and I am proud that the first time these shoes are being shown, they're being shown here. It would not surprise me if other museums around the country would like to show them as well, especially in the setting that you've put them out at. I did learn a bit about the Historical Society and all the wonderful exhibits you've done. I did research on them also when I decided it would be a good idea to hold a contest with all of New York area high school students, and being one of the themes to draw upon what this museum has told New York about the world, women in particular. That became one of the key subjects that the students had to design into. I will say we have unbelievable talent hidden in these schools. We could have had 25 winners, and I'm sure that, let's say I hope, and I'm also sure, that the inspiration maybe that this contest gave them will drive them to great careers, hopefully in fashion, and even more so maybe in footwear. Thank you so much, Louise, for putting this together, and for Valerie and the rest of your team. Edward Mader is not here. He's the one who fixed so many of these shoes that over the centuries lose their beads and lose their buttons, and now are really works of art and historical objects. I thank him for that. Enjoy your meal, and can't wait to talk to Vanessa and let you hear about what these shoes really mean to me. Thank you.
So we'll invite you now to continue to enjoy your meal. I'll be back to introduce Vanessa Friedman.